We are in this together.
You have gifts that I don't have, and I have gifts that you don't have.
That we must see. Now is the time, because it's when we all get together that we will make the changes that we must make. We are the world.
Welcome to Malcolm and We, a show dedicated to introducing you to people who make a difference in the world, individually and collectively, and make the world a much better place to live in. And you're hearing this on malcolmpresents.com, a streaming network reaching the entire world and beyond. We haven't figured out what beyond means. Anyway, my co-host is on the bottom of the screen, Jana Larson. Jana, introduce our guest.
Yes, thank you, Malcolm. Today we have Rita Marsh, and she's a retired family nurse practitioner, and she's also the co-founder of the Center for Human Flourishing, which is a 501c3 organization that provides programs in integral health. The Center for Human Flourishing offers programs and presentations by pioneers in integral health and human flourishing to create health and wholeness in body, mind, and spirit. Through the expansion of consciousness, the enlightened state of being can be achieved for ourselves and for humankind. Programs involve focusing on the 4 quadrants of life in addition to many other things. And the center is located in Carbondale, Colorado, a very beautiful part of the state near Aspen, which is my home state. Welcome, Rita. And tell us all about you. And I especially want to hear about the 4 quadrants of life. I know it's a complicated subject. It'll take a while to explain, but you're the perfect person to explain this.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Malcolm. And thank you, Jana, for having me here today. It's a pleasure to see the two of you and connect in this way. Let's see. The Center for Human Flourishing, the programs that we provide are based on the integral health model that was developed by Dr. Elliot Dasher. He wrote a book, Integral Health, The Path to Human Flourishing. And I met Elliot years ago in integrative medicine conferences. He was one of the first practitioners who went into integrative medicine and actually worked for Kaiser in Washington, D.C. years ago, and had an integrative clinic. And since then, he's gone on to study in Buddhism and expanding his work into a very deep meditation process. Anyway, his book, The Integral Path to Human Flourishing, was based on Kim Wilber's work, the 4-quadrant model of human development. And Elliot took the model and simplified it and applied it to health and well-being. He actually hoped that medicine in the US would begin to look at how to be with people in their practices in this way. That hasn't happened yet. So we here at the Center for Human Flourishing continue to provide programs in the 4-quadrant model. It just essentially says we are mind, body, spirit, and we are held in a field of spirit. And we are also very connected to the energy of Gaia. And I'll speak more about that later because it's going to tie in with what Malcolm's doing with the green world. The 4 quadrants are biological health, psycho-spiritual well-being, interpersonal health, and what Elliot calls worldly. And in the worldly realm, we look at what work in the world we're doing. Is it satisfying? Is it helping us flourish? Are we able to be active in community with social activism? And are we also available for generativity? And that means giving back to others, being elders in our community. And that could even just being a mom, raising your kids, generativity. So in a nutshell, that's the 4 quadrants.
Yeah, you have a yeoman job to do, because as I'm getting older, I realize more and more that why they say it's the practice of medicine, because they're always practicing. They don't know what they're doing.
Well,
And
some do.
no, and
Some
it's
do.
especially as you get older, they only treat you with medicine.
Not only that, there are good practitioners out there that really do consider the whole person, I
Well,
think.
I'm not to knock Kaiser, they're pretty good. I'm a member of Kaiser Permanente, but most of the doctors there give you pills.
Uh,
Yes,
I
I think
unfortunately,
a lot do.
yeah, unfortunately, the pharmaceutical company has had a big influence on how the way medicine is practiced in this country, and it's a very sad state of affairs. So, uh, we promote complementary practitioners in our community so people can realize there are folks who will help look at the whole body, the whole person, and help them find their way to a better state of health. And one of the big areas we look at is nutrition. And we're promoting programs in plant-based living. And that started with a colleague of mine, Dr. Feinsinger, who was a family practice in family practice medicine, and he began seeing his patients as they age were falling into these chronic illnesses. And somebody introduced him to the book of the China study about work that had been done in China, looking that and seeing that people who lived on a plant-based diet were not prone to these chronic illnesses. So Greg started introducing his patients to that lifestyle, and saw a big change in diabetes, heart disease, arthritis, obesity. And he continued while he was still actively practicing, supporting his patients in that way. And then upon retirement, he began just providing free services and promoting this lifestyle. And we, our center engaged with him, and we continue to support his practice with people. And we have a plant-based potluck once a month to invite community members in to take a taste of what it means to live from the ground up.
Well,
You offer
Kaiser,
workshops?
Kaiser is starting to get into that. But what I think is we need to make certain things illegal, like advertising McDonald's on television, where you see this big hamburger garnished in, with onions and cheese, and it's big with a Coke or Pepsi. And I'm looking at that, I say, heart attack.
Yeah.
Or clogged arteries, where they give
Yes.
all these cereal to kids that are basically sugar, and they're breaking them in at the right age.
Yes, and once kids get attached to salt and sugar, and their taste buds get used to that, it's hard to move them away from it. But unfortunately, there are nutritionists and dietitians who are beginning to look at this plant-based lifestyle seriously. And I just heard that the Diabetic Association in the US is now beginning to promote plant-based living.
Yeah, but what they don't have, which I'm trying to find at Kaiser, but they don't have it, is doctors that know about herbs. And when I ask my doctor, why don't there are any herb doctors? He says, well, it hasn't been proven. And I look at him, what do you mean it hasn't been proven? It's been hundreds of years that different tribes used herbs to cure things. It was in the trees, it was natural.
Yes. Yes, and there's a wonderful gentleman I know, Chief Phil Lane. And Jana, you may know Chief Phil.
Yes.
And he is promoting bringing back the herbal medicines. And I think it's a center in Tennessee that he's been working with.
I'd love to get him on some shows, or even do a series of shows about herbs and herbal cures, because you just listen to television, the ads that they have on for different medications, and then you have like 15 seconds. Oh, this might cause, and the thing is, and it might cause sudden death.
Yeah.
I guess that's a cure. You have no problems if you die suddenly.
Yes, that ends it all.
Right.
Yeah,
It-
they show these people doing all these fun things, and then and then it's like really spoken very quickly and like in an
Right,
underbreath. Because this,
there's
because this, because this, because
yeah,
this, but ask your doctor.
right. Of course, this is all the insurance companies saying if you don't do this, I think you're liable anyway. But I know
Well,
what.
anyway,
Yeah,
Rita,
go.
tell about what all you do at your center. Because I took a look at what all you're doing. You have a lot of, you're very active. You have a lot of things going on, like you mentioned with the community potluck and people coming in. And tell us more.
Well, coming up in November, we're hosting Dr. Will Tuttle, who has written a book about the diet for world peace. I met Dr. Will through a friend of mine and haven't engaged with him personally, but I'm absolutely fascinated by the work he's been doing for a number of years. And he might be a great one, Malcolm, to have on your program.
Yeah, let me know. I would love to
Yeah.
get all those sorts of people on our show to give them, another platform, another way to get the word out. Because as much as I would love to live in Carbondale,
Yeah, I'd love to do a series of shows with different people on holistic medicines.
yes.
That's an
Yeah.
excellent
We have a new
idea.
volunteer who was on last week because she was born in Mumbai, but she's here in the USA, and she's going to be helping us with content and marketing and everything for our show here. But she was diagnosed when she was 17 with type 1 diabetes, and then also anxiety, and so her goal in life is not only to be doing her work, but also to have another opportunity to talk about diabetes, and it's sort of her mission to talk about um, diabetes and what it means and how to deal with it. And so we're very excited that she might want to be able to take on doing a show for us to have on the platform as an ongoing basis.
Excellent. Well, I can certainly send you a list of folks that I know of, and some personally, who might be wonderful to put together a program like that.
Right.
Oh,
If also, if you could speak to them and find out whether they'd be interested, since you
Yes.
have that personal thing, we greatly appreciate it and keep Yana informed
Mhm.
yes.
or me
Yeah, our
informed.
goal is to have this streaming network, an ongoing streaming network, to be in the forefront of how information is
Disseminated.
yeah, that's the word I was trying to think of. But on an ongoing basis, and make it big, and to, well, of course, globally, because this is a project with We the World, so we're trying to think globally and be more involved with what's happening around the world, and because we're all related, we're all
Yeah.
relatives.
Well, you asked me what other programs we do. We're very involved with people who do sound healing and provide what we call a gong bath experience with gongs and bowls and drumming. And it's a form of energy medicine that has come from the indigenous world, has come forward. So we have 3 or 4 practitioners who provide experiences like that here. We
Is
are
that
part,
sound healing?
it's a part of sound healing. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I do a form of transcendental meditation, and when I'm doing, and there are 2 when you're supposed to be silent, but I listen to music, like it's Tibetan music, and they have bells and different things that. So I sit down, I do it for the 20 minutes,
mhm.
and it's very calming. But the thing which is hard to control is anxiety in the world today, because and I'm an anxious person, I worry.
Mhm.
And I can't, and I listen to the news. Oh my
Unfortunately,
God.
yeah. Well, one of the people whose work we've supported over the years is Dr. David Bruselli, and he developed trauma release exercises. And it's a way that the body, you can set the body up to naturally go into tremoring, which is a way of releasing tension and anxiety in the whole nervous system. And so we have practitioners here in the community who teach David's work. He's no longer teaching actively, but he has many practitioners all over the globe who are teaching this work, and it's very easy to learn in 3 or 4 sessions, and then it becomes a modality that you can use in your own life just to release that built-up tension through the whole
Wow,
central
and I thought
nervous
I'd heard of
system.
everything. I've never heard of that. That's interesting. It's called
It reminds me-
tremoring.
What's it called?
Trauma release exercises, TRE.
Is it related at
Oh.
all to years ago? I had shared a summer house on Fire Island in New York, and we used to call this the screaming house because it was a therapy group that used to scream, yell, and shout.
Oh,
It seems like it's to get to reduce tension, but it sounds like the tremor type of thing in another way. But I mean, they
Well-
were screaming. You heard people yelling and shouting, but just getting rid of their tensions.
yes, the primal therapy. That was definitely very popular a number of years ago and helped people release from the whole
Right.
being. You could look up David's work, TRE, trauma release exercises, and I'm sure out in your part of the woods, Malcolm, there'll be people who teach it, and also
Oh yeah,
Diana,
they have
for you.
the problem that I find out with any of these type of groups or holistic approach, they're expensive because it's not covered by anything. It's not covered by Kaiser. I get my medicine from there, but if I want something on herbs, I have to go to the herbal store, and it winds up costing at least several $100s a week almost.
What kind of herbs?
Or to go to a holistic doctor.
Oh,
Ain't
yeah.
covered.
And it comes back to, why don't we have healthcare for all, so people can get to a practitioner before they run into problems and run into issues.
So you said earlier when we were talking that you came from Canada.
Yes,
Where in Canada?
Ontario, north of Toronto.
It's funny, you don't look Canadian.
What does that mean?
Yeah. That I haven't found the difference between most Canadian people that I know are from Canada is from people that are from US.
That's right. There's only certain things
As far as their appearance, their talk, their mannerisms, their outlook on life.
Well,
I'm just an hour from Ontario, where I am in Ohio. I'm right near Lake Erie, so Ontario is on the other side there from us.
Well,
Yeah.
we're all immigrants to the country, and most of us came
Exactly.
from Europe, different parts of Europe. So we all kind of look alike. And one thing about Canadians, we can say out and about.
Yes, out and about, and you end your sentences with a.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, even though I've been living in Los Angeles for about 45 years, when I start speaking to people, they say, "What part of Brooklyn are you from?" And I know I still say coffee and soda.
And pop. I say pop.
Yeah, I never heard of the term soda pop. That was in the South.
One of the areas I've become very interested in recently is the work of regeneration. And I was introduced to this through the work of a fellow named Joe Brewer. He's American, but lives in Bogotá, Colombia. He wrote a book, The Design Pathway for Regenerating Earth. Absolutely fascinating fellow who is going to different parts of this country igniting the regional regeneration of areas and looking at watersheds as the place that we live, and how can we support the natural world, the water, the land, so we can produce more food locally and clean up waterways that need to be cleaned up and live closer to the land. So
yeah, Rita, you should tune into a Many Shades of Green, which is, right now it's just on audio, but that's a
yes,
basic. We have people constantly talking about that, how to
yes.
save the land and how to, preserve the earth.
So I'd like to
And
introduce you
the
to Joe
history
Brewer.
too.
Yeah. Again, as Rick would say to the captain, I think this is the beginning of a great relationship. I don't know if you know the line from Casablanca.
Yeah, well,
It's
she's a very dynamic person, and I see you everywhere, Rita, like with the Peace Through Unity, and all the work that's going on there. You're a big part of being part of the solution for change, and
right.
that's
Well, I
good.
know we now know the philosophy more or less, but how is it applied to people? How do you interface with the general public?
Well, we invite people to our events and our classes, introduce them to practitioners, and the whole intent is to inspire people to begin the inward journey, to begin to look that health and wellness actually resides within. It's just been dampened or covered up or
Or
hampered
we've been
by
made to feel
traumas
like
in
we
life.
can't do it ourselves, and so we just need a helping hand. Like that's how one can live amongst all the trials and tribulations of what's going on in the world as we are more exposed to what's going on in the world. But just in our own communities, how we can ground ourselves and rise above that strife so that we can be hopeful in our own lives and see how we can do what we can do and feel positive. I mean,
Yes.
that's my motto.
And one of the biggest ways to reach that is through meditation practice. So we have a number of practitioners here that we introduce people to, and to find that pathway to that inner space is important. The other work that we support is ancestral healing, the family constellation work that Bert Hellinger developed in Germany years ago, and looking at ancestral trauma and how that shows up in our lives, and being able to release that and let the line of love come through so that we can feel that we're supported in all that we do.
How do you reach the people? How
Um,
are you marketing or advertising or?
well, we have almost 1,000 people on our mailing list, and we have a wonderful public radio station here in the community that sends out information about our programs. We also have several newspapers that have calendars, and a lot of it is word of mouth. People who've been to the programs and say, hey, you've got to go check this out at the Center for Human Flourishing.
Well, and you're in I mean, an amazing place. I mean, you just can't be in Colorado, in my opinion, without feeling that energy of hope and spirit and all that is good and right. That's what I think. The mountains speak to me, like
Yeah,
the ones you have
it's great
going
to
on
fresh air of
here.
the mountains, but the only thing I hear when you go to the mountain, I'm into sports. When people go up to Denver and the teams, they have to go a few days to get used to the lack of oxygen, which is more tiring.
One does have to acclimate. This is true. But if you
But
live there, I mean, you've already, that's a big step. And
how do you
maybe it
find
makes you more open to the higher powers,
now on
higher
the
energy.
practical level? How do you finance all these endeavors? How do you finance the disseminating of information?
Uh, from our programs, we have what I would say reasonable charges for the program. So a practitioner's presenting gets some money for what we present, and we cover our marketing costs. And we're majorly a volunteer organization, and so we're always looking for donations
Okay,
to
did
support our work.
you have a website that people can contact you and donate
Yes.
or see what you're doing?
Yes, it's www.thecenterforhumanflourishing.org, and there's a donate page on there, and we're in the process of upgrading with a new website that's going to explain a lot more about the integral health model, and we hope that in 3 weeks that'll be launched and more people will find us. I am also introducing people to programs like yours, and also the folks from Barbara Marx Hubbard's network and the Convergence folks. So people that I meet get out in the world and reach audiences such as yours. So I'm happy to make this connection and see
Yeah,
where
that's
it
what
might
we're
go.
trying to do. Yeah, when your show's on, we appreciate if you tell all your friends and contacts that you're on there. But again, from speaking to you, and I think you're a wealth of knowledge, and you could be like the driving force of putting together. Do you do any podcasting or Zoom casting?
No.
We should talk. Because
Yeah.
this is a new way of reaching people. Plus, it's done right. We can reach the young audience to catch them as they're beginning their life or as they're starting families.
Yes, that's a very important time.
Yeah, because again, I don't know about you, but for my time, it's sort of like it's sort of like it's almost like that old Marie Chevalier, and the days dwindle down to a precious few. My days are dwindling down.
You have many, many, many more
or maybe,
moons.
yeah,
Welcome.
but each day you have is precious and can be used.
Exactly. And it's never too early to start the practice of gratitude.
Yes.
Or never too late.
Yeah. Never too early, never too late. Exactly.
I'm almost a firm believer, but no one agrees with me, that the body can heal itself if you know what to call upon. Because I always,
Yes.
just basically, if there's an infection in the body, the white blood cells are called up, to fight. It's almost like that I don't know if you've seen the Woody Allen movie, where he takes you into the brain, and he says, I won't go into it because it involves
An acquired
sex.
taste, Woody Allen.
I forgot that.
Well, you're absolutely right, Malcolm. I started studying years ago psychoneuroimmunology, and that was through the work of Dr. Candace Pert. And she wrote the book Molecules of Emotion, and began to realize that it's how we think, how our thoughts can release neuropeptides in the body and can either raise wellness or can create disease.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
unfortunately, Candace is no longer with us, but she was an absolute heroine of mine.
But when I was for a while doing marathon running, which I haven't done it for the last 30 years or so, 25 years.
That's why you're so young looking.
And the great feelings when I used to run on the beach.
Yes.
The endorphins.
In the morning, and you run 5-6 miles and the body gets tired and it hurts. And all of a sudden,
You
it
reach
doesn't
that
hurt
Zen
anymore.
level.
It's feeling good. It's because the body is producing endorphins.
Yes.
And the endorphins are called the feel good drug.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you feel good. It's like when you're
And you don't
nervous
hurt anymore, and you
right.
can
No, you
breathe.
don't.
And
It's
you can go
really,
forever.
they
I
call
used to run
anything.
too. I know what that
Runners
feeling
called it
is.
a second wind.
Yes.
But all of a
Yes.
sudden, you really feel good. It's endorphins. The same way I'm trying to think of when you're nervous and worried, the body creates another hormone, which ain't no good.
Dopamine.
I'm forgetting now what you call that hormone.
She said dopamine.
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 Mm-hmm.
But so the mind can control. So if you can get to programming the mind, which no one does, or maybe with your group they do, but traditional medicine doesn't do it. They totally neglect that.
Well, we can hope that there are, and I know there are bright lights around this country that are doing this kind of work. And I'm just hoping we can open up people's understanding that health does begin here within, and we need good soil, good water, good air, and
Oh, definitely.
the capacity to have fun.
Well, that's important.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a firm believer that age basically is just experience. The older you are, the more experience that you have. But there are people you meet who are 20 years old, who are old, because they know everything and they don't look, been there, done that. Everything is boring. But there are people who I know who are in the 90s that are looking forward to things, that everything is a new experience. So to me, it's when you stop learning, that's when you start getting old.
Mhm.
If you're learning, you're not old.
No,
Anyway,
lifelong learning is an important aspect of being
right.
a healthy whole person.
And I always talk to people, no matter how old they are. I say, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And some people are taken aback. Well, I'm 50 or I'm 60. I'm grown up. I said, no, I mean,
I'm still trying to decide what to be when I
right.
grow
At
up.
my age, I have switched, from TV to radio to podcasting. I don't know what the next thing is.
But
Yeah.
But anyway, our time has run out.
Uh,
It's been a delightful conversation, and we must be back, but we must get together off camera, because I'd love to get your people together and maybe even you quarterback this to create a weekly show. We'll have different people on telling about their experiences and how to live and how to make yourself a better person and the world a better place. But I thank you very much, Rita, and look forward to our future discussions. And thank you, Yana. And you're listening to Malcolm and We, heard on malcolmpresents.com, a streaming network, heard around the world and beyond. Peace. Bye.
Bye. Thank
bye-bye.
you.
The objective of the organization We the World is to facilitate cooperation on a global scale amongst groups and individuals dedicated to implementing solutions to the many challenges we face on the planet at this time.